Hey, I'm Isabel Bercaw, and when I was 12 years old, I founded a multi-million-dollar bath and body products company called the Bomb Bath. After 5 years of building my own brand, I've discovered a passion for helping young and innovative entrepreneurs tell their stories. Hopefully, you'll be inspired by the guests here on Build-A-Biz and maybe even motivated to start a business of your own. Let's get into it.
This is Build-A-Biz with Isabel Bercaw.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Build-A-Biz. I'm Isabel Bercaw, your host, and today I'm here with Dylan Dierking, the 22-year-old serial entrepreneur, innovating the way Minnesotans have a bite to eat during their Lake Day festivities. Dylan, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks so much for having me, Isabel.
So I think we should probably start by making it very clear that you and I are both born and raised Minnesotans, or at least I'm born and raised, but I know that you grew up in Minnesota as well. Mm-hmm. And for those of the listeners here that are not Minnesotan, it might be good to mention that the lakes are like the backbone of the Minnesota activities that we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's where everyone spends their time in the summer. Best place to be.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know if this is like a well-known thing, but we're known as like the land of 10,000 lakes, which is funny because we actually have, I looked it up, it's 11,842 lakes. So I don't know why I had to round down. I guess it just sounded nice. But
yeah, nice clean number.
Yeah, for sure. But we know it's more.
Right.
So I guess I know that you started multiple businesses, which is super impressive. But I guess I just want to start with what you're working on right now and why you started that business.
So what I'm working on right now is called Foodski, which is basically like DoorDash or Uber Eats or Grubhub, but on the water. So we use drivers on jet skis with like insulated cooler backpacks to keep the food warm or cold, whatever it needs to be. And they stop in at the restaurants, grab people's orders, and bring them out. So that's a quick synopsis, and I'm sure we'll get into that more. But why I started it is because so the food delivery industry is booming right now. And so I figured there's the one place that isn't really being catered to is the water. And us being in Minnesota, it's a gold mine. So I decided to act on that and make things happen.
Dylan, you grew up on White Bear Lake, which is one of the larger lakes in Minnesota. Was that a problem that you had seen growing up, that you were, on a boat maybe, or like on a jet ski all day, and then you got really hungry and you're like, man, I really don't want to have to boat all the way across the lake to grab food. I wish someone would just deliver it to me.
Absolutely. It was a pretty common problem where like a group of 8 or 10, however many people are out there, and 3/4 of them are not hungry, and then 2 people get hungry and you don't have any food, or you've packed like a cooler and you've got like chips and grapes and just like they're fine snacks, but nothing satiating. And it's frustrating when you have to get out the lake to go eat, especially if it's a super nice day or the lake is calm and like not super windy. You want to take advantage of as much time as you can get, especially with our summers being so short and our time out there being so short. So yeah, it was a definite issue in the world.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that even for someone like me who didn't grow up on a lake or like a body of water, I would still go to the lake from time to time, and we would face that issue too. My mom would be like, oh, I want to get a nice tan. And then my grandpa would be like, I want to keep fishing. Yeah. And then there'd be my 3 siblings and I'd be like, we're hungry, because we only stayed full for like 3 hours at a time. And then like you said too, we didn't want to end our boating session just to go get some food, because that was kind of inconvenient. And once again, for the non-Minnesotans out there, we basically have like 3 months of actual nice weather per year in Minnesota. And it's the best weather ever. So it's like we get to take advantage of it, but then it goes away and it gets really snowy or like rainy here.
Yeah,
So I can totally understand that you'd want to capitalize off of that in the moment.
absolutely.
So you started Foodski second, your second business, correct?
Yes, yes.
So what was your first business?
Okay, so my first business was a clothing brand for endangered species, which I started my freshman year of college. And I had gone to college thinking that I wanted to be a nurse because eventually I wanted to be a nurse anesthetist. And basically, my primary reasoning for that was because I enjoyed science. I felt like I was pretty good at science, at least in school. And down the road, the money was pretty good, and that was pretty much the driving factor in that choice or goal. But then as I got older and got to my first year of college and was taking, chemistry in college. Chemistry in college is not fun. At least, well, for me, it was not fun. I don't know many people who enjoy it, but um, it made me start to question the route that I was going down because I wasn't like happy, and it wasn't allowing me to be my full creative self, and I knew that I wanted to be able to tap into my creativity in and make money based off of that and from that. So I had a meeting with my academic advisor talking about switching my major, and she was like, if you could do anything right, or if you could do anything, if you could um, do anything right now, what would it be? And I said I would run a successful clothing brand. So that was a pivotal moment. Like I owe being here today to her because I if I hadn't been asked that question, I don't think things would have changed. So or maybe they would have, but it would have ended up in a different. I would have ended up somewhere else. So
So you then decided that, running a business, specifically in this instance, a clothing business was something that you really wanted to do in the moment. So how did you make that happen?
so I knew that I wanted to I wanted to do something that gave back because I think one, I've always my mom has always like taught me to be generous and give back. When you get, you give, all that. So I wanted to anchor it around that. Um, and so I was thinking of different like global issues that maybe we're not so focused on. And I came to endangered species because people like animals. Um, and yeah, I like animals as well. So, um, and initially, I don't know if you've seen those like continuous line drawings where it's just like one line for the picture is created out of one continuous line. Initially, I wanted all the animals to be that, and so I reached out to like the art department of my school, University of Iowa, um, and I never heard back. So I was kind of like, I don't know what to do. And then my mom or my cousin actually was like, why don't you try making them yourself? And so I got Adobe Illustrator and um, took some free for commercial use images off the internet and then added my own touch to those. And there were black silhouettes that I then erased the black out of to create detail and make the animals. So um, that was that. I ended up having I think 7 initial images, and then um, had those turned into transfers. So like heat transfers, where you use like a press and then it heats it up and melts it into the clothing. Um, I made a couple connections with a clothing brand or a wholesale um, company that sold long sleeves, t-shirts, hoodies, all that. Um, And basically I was doing everything besides making the actual clothing. Like I was pressing the animals onto the shirts. I bought a heat press. I was doing that in my dorm. And yeah, it was a really good learning experience because I was pretty green heading into all that. Um, Things like inventory, that's a mess to handle. Um, and let's see, money is the other thing. When you're starting a clothing brand, you need to have some money behind you so you can, like, if you have designs, and I had 7 different designs. And so if you want to have inventory of 7 different designs, you need to have smalls, mediums, larges, extra larges, double X, maybe extra small. And then you have a t-shirt, long sleeve, hoodie, potentially a crew neck. Then you've got like 5 times 7 times 4 is like 140, and that's just to have one size of each piece of clothing with each animal on it. So,
Wow.
or one article of each size. Yeah. So if you want to have any extras, like you need to have in case one size goes more, then it gets to be a lot of money. So that was quick, a quick learning that I had, or a lesson that I learned. And I then cut it down to just sweatshirts and long sleeves to kind of focus on the fall, and to allow me to have higher quality stuff, because I knew that I wanted the product to be really high quality, and have more of I didn't want it to like fall apart, and I wanted it to be like the comfiest sweatshirt that you own, and all that. So yeah.
I mean, I love that in-depth explanation. And I know that when I started my business, I was also doing everything, but I had my sister.
Sure.
But I laugh when I hear you say that you had a heat seal in your dorm room, because we had a shrink wrap machine on our dining room table, and that just kind of made me think of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Us doing everything truly from the beginning,
Yeah.
and dipping our toes into each little category of, like you mentioned, inventory, figuring out how to actually produce the product. For us, we needed to have packaging as well, so we had to
Hmm.
produce packaging, do all that good stuff. Well, one, I think like the point I kind of wanted to make, based on what you said about all the different categories that you have to work in when you're starting your own business, was that, like, no matter what, I think that even if you're starting a business that you may not have to work in every single category, like say you just wanted to start a business doing like the one thing that you didn't do, which was like making the actual shirts and like knitting them.
Yeah.
Um, Say you wanted to start like a shirt knitting company. I think that person probably went in and was like, I'm going to go look at different types of string, and I'm going to go look at different pieces of equipment where I can make the best quality t-shirts.
Hmm.
And they have to go through that too. And I think that like when you're starting a business, there's a lot that you don't think about when it comes to that aspect of things. And then also like honestly, like the best way to learn in my experience was just by going out and doing those activities and taking the initiative to really like learn and take a couple risks.
Yeah.
Maybe not too huge risks if you're trying to watch your financials, but at least in my experience, I feel like working in the industry, and each little part of the industry that you're gonna be producing a product in, or a service in, is very important. Like, I'm sure you researched different jet skis and stuff before you decided to start Foodski, and you have to really work in each category. I'm kind of wondering for you if you've found that starting your own business has been beneficial to learning more than school has, because I know that you're right now taking a semester off school, and I guess I'd be curious to know a little bit about how you compare learning at school to learning yourself in a business.
So I would say, for the short answer, it for me, it has been far more beneficial. Now, and I'm not trying to turn people away from school. I think school is very beneficial. But when you're going to school for something like entrepreneurship, um, experience is paramount. And but like I've learned more in this semester off about business than I have learned in in school, I would say, as a whole, or between both businesses. I've learned more there. Now, when it comes to things like accounting and like stuff like things like that, um, speaking, writing, I think those things are pretty beneficial in school. Um, accounting, I would not have a clue what I was doing if I hadn't taken accounting classes. Not a single clue. Econ, at least, um, having like a general understanding for how the economy works, I think is also very beneficial, um, and can kind of open up your mind, and create new ways that your brain, the create new ways that you think of things because you have that background knowledge that is like that you can tap into to rationalize certain things or make sense of stuff.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. Dylan, we have to take a music break really quick, but when we return from the break, we can continue this conversation right where we left off. Welcome back from the music break, everybody. I'm here with Dylan Dierking, the founder of Foodski, and he was just telling us about why he feels that schools probably taught him a little bit less about running a business than running an actual business taught him.
I guess I'm also curious to ask you, what advice would you give to somebody who kind of needs somebody to tell them, like, it's okay if you're not totally vibing with your school situation right now? What would you say to inspire them, I guess?
This is so cliche, but it is like I really believe in it, and I would say it's trusting your gut. Um, know yourself, and pay attention to what you are feeling. There's a difference between feeling like something's hard and you know that you still want it and you still want to work toward it, and then there's questioning it completely, and being unhappy, um, in doing that. And what was helpful for me was really taking a second to picture, try to imagine myself doing it for the rest of my life. And if you struggle to imagine yourself doing it for the rest of your life, and maintaining happiness, of course people are going to have bad days and tough times, but like I'm talking long term. If you can't see yourself doing whatever you're pursuing long term, and maintaining happiness, I think that's a very telltale sign, that you maybe need to reevaluate what you are trying to do and what your goals are. I think it can get hard for kids, especially like coming out of high school, or you know, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior of high school. There, it's so pushed nowadays to know what you want to do, when you go to school, and I think that now where I'm at now, I find it hard to believe many people truly know what they want to do without going to school, like going to college, like living, going to college and living away from your parents and doing all that. It has been, I grew more in my freshman year than I think ever before. I mean, the last 4 years of my life in college have been, there's been immense amounts of growth happening, and so, and I would imagine that that's for most people. So with that being said, having an idea, I would not expect anyone in high school to truly know what they want to do, and so I say, and with that I say, keep your options open, and your mind open, so that don't shut yourself off to doing one thing, because things can change, your interests can change. You start to realize, this isn't the route, or I really like cars, or I really like fashion, or stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Love it. And a couple points that I picked out when you were speaking was, I really liked how you mentioned like it's okay to have bad days, because if I decided to quit my business every time I had a bad day, I would have quit like 4,563 times ago.
Yes.
But the thing, like, I like that you also followed that with like, it's okay to have bad days, but make sure that what you're doing is worth the bad days.
Right.
So if it's like all bad days and you don't enjoy what you're doing, maybe rethink that. And, it's okay to take time to figure that out.
Yeah.
But if you're just having a couple bad days, like, growth is going to be uncomfortable no matter what. So it's almost better to go in expecting that there's going to be a little bit discomfort in what you're trying to succeed at. But if it's a little bit too much, it's just knowing where to draw those limits, especially when you're growing up and, being told to do one thing and then being told to do another. I know it can get all a little bit confusing for people.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really great advice. Another thing I picked out was you briefly mentioned that moving away from your parents really made you a much more independent person. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know, what do your parents think about you starting 2 businesses now and, taking a semester off to work on Foodski, which is, from what I hear in my local town, quite the hot commodity right now.
Yes. My parents have been exceptionally supportive. I am beyond grateful for their support, and they recognized at a young age that I was not, like, school was not the reading textbooks, doing this solidified, like, cookie cutter education was not really my thing. Now, they didn't say it's okay to go get D's and F's and C's or whatever, but like, they didn't come down on me when that happened, because they understood that I would still, they trusted that I would still be able to, I would find something that I would want to do.
That's something that I always found to be true with my own life too, was I wasn't necessarily like the strongest, like studious student, I guess you could say, like traditional, you use the word cookie cutter, which I really like. I wasn't like a cookie cutter student. I didn't straight A's or anything, which some people are surprised to hear. They're like, but you started a business when you were, I think I was 14 when we became an official LLC. Or maybe I was 15. I can't remember. I was 14. I was 14 when we became when Bomb became an official LLC. And people were like, well, what do you mean you didn't get straight A's? Like, I thought you would be taking all the AP classes. I'm like, no, I took one AP class in high school. And yeah, exactly. Maybe I would have gone back and done things differently, knowing what I know now, and just kind of like pushed myself a little more in school, because I do think that like, you get a lot out of school, especially something that I've heard people say before is you learn your learning style. So I think that's super important. But I also think, like, just if were hearing what you're saying right now, I would, 1, feel relieved. And number 2, I feel like my parents did implement what you're talking about right now into just kind of like letting me do what I felt like would give me purpose, I guess. Yeah. Because I feel like there's a fine line between, doing nothing or, working hard on something that maybe isn't a super, or I guess going down a not super traditional path, still succeeding on your own terms, I guess, which is, I like that you bring that up a lot.
Yeah.
So I guess before we end the interview, I want to know, what is next for Foodski?
What's next for Foodski is expansion, getting onto other bodies of water. That is the primary goal at this point, because that's what drives growth. And ideally we would cover a couple lakes in Minnesota, and then really branch out to some of the bigger lakes once we have our operation figured out. But right now we are running into some issues that are tricky. but it's something that I think with time it will work out. And so I'm really pushing and trying to bear, kind of get through the tough times, figure it out, do some grunt work, and just make sure I don't leave anything out on the field at the end of, if it doesn't work out, then I can say to myself, I did everything that I could to try to make it work, and it wasn't meant to be.
Absolutely. And, you know, if anything, it was just another big, giant learning lesson in business.
Exactly. And I think for what I want to do, at least, what will bring fulfillment to my life is working with businesses and in businesses. And so something like this, I think, will carry the same, if not more weight than having straight A's in college for what I want to do. It shows that I have experience, that I understand business and the things that come along with it. So, yeah, I think in the end, this is all extremely worth it, regardless of the outcome.
Well, regardless of the outcome, I'm sending you great vibes. And honestly, I'm a huge believer in manifesting. And part of manifesting is that I kind of try to hope for the best in the future. So I'm going to say that I'm hoping for the best in the future to see Foodski on the biggest and awesomest lakes in Minnesota. And personally, I don't see a downside to bringing Foodski to all the lakes in Minnesota eventually, because it seems like it would only positively impact our waters. So,
Right,
and you know, internationally, Foodski's going to go international.
There we go. Yes.
Someday you'll be in the Bahamas delivering burgers.
Yeah. Oh, I would love nothing more.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dylan, unfortunately, this is all the time we have left today, but I so appreciate you coming on Build-A-Biz and sharing your wisdom, and I wish you the best of luck with your business.
Thank you so much. It was great to chat with you.
Be sure to check out the Build-A-Bear YouTube channel, where there is a Build-A-Bear radio playlist containing all the Build-A-Biz episodes. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram. My handle is Isabel.Bercaw, where I will also be posting weekly updates on the latest guests on Build-A-Biz. Thanks. Have a great day.